You thought I was lying. You didn't think I was gonna do it, did you? You all assumed. Oh, Hugin. Oh, you never stream 2 days in a row. But today, I do. I don't know why I laughed there, but still. All right. Where is it? Nope. There we go. I'm gonna do some shiz. Let's close that. Let's put that there. Let's put that there. Let's open this here. I'm gonna. Is there no audio? Hello? Yes, there is. It's lying to me. I don't like that. I do not like liars. But I can tell there's no audio there at least. Okay. Stream is healthy. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. There we go. Why don't I start off with Jackson Hinkle? How's it going, buddy? How's it going? I want to see, first of all, what are people saying? This is how the US slides into fascism? I'm guessing it's not the same way that I think it's going to happen. Truth tellers are being silenced while liars have their voices amplified. I mean, this changes everything. I don't remember what this was about. But I'm quite curious to hear what Jackson Hinkle thinks changes everything.
Everybody, I wanted to come here and make this.
By the way, why don't you invest in a better camera, Hinkle? Why are you streaming at 720p? Just get a better. Ask Putin. Ask your sugar daddy for some money for a better setup, please.
Because something very, very concerning just took place. And I need you to share this video far and wide. So drop a like on this video. Subscribe to my channel for more.
By the way, subscribe to my channel.
Updates about what is.
Hit that subscribe button. I heard Game Theory say you shouldn't ask people to like, subscribe, and share. Because that's going to be an overload and they're not going to do anything. So you're just going to ask them one thing and one thing only. And you have to do it in a special way. So you can't just say, hit that like button or hit that subscribe button. You have to actually cut through the noise of everyone else saying it. So I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I want something Viking-y to say. Pray to Odin by hitting that subscribe button. Something like that. Yeah? Pray to Odin by hitting that subscribe button, okay?
Is going on, and there will be more updates about what is going on with this case right here. Because, well, it's directly pertinent to our free speech, our First Amendment as Americans, and really to all of you. Because what just took place is something that honestly, we haven't seen the likes of it. It's the weaponization of our justice system, the likes of which
Oh my God, this is about Trump, isn't it? This is about Trump. 1 day ago, though, this is about Trump.
we haven't seen in years. I mean, this is very
Like
frightening.
the MAGA communist is going to simp for Trump.
And I want to break it down for you, okay? Because the tyrants in the White House have completely eliminated free speech in one final swoop by moving.
How are you able to say this then? What are you talking about, Hinkle? How are you able to say this if there's no free speech anymore?
Moving forward with this action that I'm going to go into right now. So the Associated
Like the absolute first thing they would do if there were no free speech would be stop people from saying anything about this. That will be number one.
In the Department of Justice, well, Department of Justice just put out a statement on this. I read the full statement, and I'm going to look at the Associated Press article on this story to give you the analysis needed as to what's actually happening and what is going to happen with these 7 individuals. But here is the story. This is just insane. U.S. charges 4 Americans and 3 Russians.
Oh, right. Okay, I haven't read into this. I haven't read up on this. I'm going to see here U.S. individuals charged with Russia spying. Last year, no. Russia arrests American journalist. U.S. indicts alleged Russia spy. Like, what are we? U.S. 4 U.S. individuals. Here, why not? Fox News. The Justice Department has charged 7 individuals who allegedly worked with the Russian government and authorities in an effort to recruit groups to act as unregistered Russian agents and sow discord and spread propaganda. They worked with the Russian government. By the way, I can't hear myself. They worked with the Russian government. That is why they are being charged. It has nothing to do with free speech. Had they just registered as Russian agents, nothing would have happened to them, but they didn't. Efforts by the Russian government to secretly influence U.S. elections will not be tolerated, said Assistant Attorney General Kenneth A. Polite, Jr. of the Justice Department Criminal Division. As today's announcement demonstrates, the Criminal Division is committed to eradicating foreign malign influence from the U.S. political system and helping ensure the integrity of our elections. A federal jury in Tampa, Florida, these are the guys who complain that U.S. elections aren't safe, aren't protected. Here they are protecting the elections, and they freak out because, oh my God, we can't be working with a foreign government who wants to stop or wants to hinder fair elections. Oh my God. Free speech is an attack. Oh my God. No, stop it. A federal jury in Tampa, Florida indicted 4 U.S. citizens and 3 Russian nationals who attempted to recruit, fund, and direct U.S. political groups to spread pro-Russian propaganda. Let's see here. Okay. And to position local candidates for office, according to a Justice Department press release. They wanted Russian sleeper agents, pretty much, in the political system. Do you realize how fucking dangerous that is? Why am I up there by now, by the way? Do you realize how fucking dangerous that would be to have foreign spies, no matter where they come from, in the political system. They won't be impartial. They will be beholden to Russia. Do you really? Well, he wants this. Of course he wants. Today's announcement paints a harrowing picture of Russian government's action and the lengths to which the FSB will go to interfere with our elections, sow discord in our nation, and ultimately recruit U.S. citizens to their efforts, said Acting Assistant Director Kurt Rono of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division. All Americans should be deeply concerned by the tactics employed by the FSB and remain vigilant to any attempt to undermine our democracy, Rono added. The FBI remains committed to confronting this egregious behavior and ultimately disrupting our adversaries and those who act on their behalf. This sounds like the system working as intended, as it should be even. Alexander Viktorovich Ionov, a resident of Moscow, allegedly spearheaded the operation through the anti-globalization movement of Russia. I've never heard of that. Anti-globalization movement. Supports the full sovereignty of nation states, including the sovereignty of Russia as an independent player on the political, economic, and cultural world state. So we support full sovereignty of nation states on the cultural world stage, anti-globalization movement. The movement aims to promote all aspects of the national security and traditional moral values. There we go. There we go. This is not an anti-globalization movement. This is a pro-Russia movement through and through. Headquartered in Moscow, he allegedly acted at the direction of Moscow-based FSB officers, including the two other Russian indicted in the case. Alexei Borisovich, I'm not going to attempt it, and Yegor Popov conspired to directly and substantially influence democratic elections in the U.S. through support and funding of a local candidate in St. Petersburg, Florida in 2019, according to the indictment. Ionov also tried to create the appearance that Americans supported Russian annexation of... Okay. The 7 individuals, all including the Americans, each face a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison for acting as illegal agents of the Russian government within the U.S. without providing prior notification to the Attorney General as required by law. The Americans can face another 10 years for acting as agents of Russia without prior notification. That's what I said. All they had to do was phone up the Attorney General and say, hey, I am now a Russian agent. I am being paid by this other state. And that goes, even if it's not Russia. If you're acting on behalf of the Swedish government in the US, even though we're allies, you still have to phone up the Attorney General and say, hey, I'm acting on behalf of Sweden here. That is why they're facing 5 years in jail.
In election discord case. Okay. Now this group of Americans that is being targeted by the Department of Justice is a black empowerment political organization affiliated with the Uhuru movement. Okay. I believe the group is called Black Hammer and Uhuru. They're like two synonymous or aligned organizations, something to that.
I wonder if he's gonna. I'm gonna do one thing. Uhuru. Katsikoro? No. I want to see what's his name. The guy who American Uhuru Movement Katsikotso. There is a what the fuck is his name? Gatsi Kodzo? Gatsi. Gatsi. Oh, he's been a lol cow for so many years. Black Hitler. Let's go. Let's go for the meme. Black Hitler. Uhuru. Oh, there we go. There. Gasi Kodzo. Gasi Kodzo. There we go. Commander Gadzi. This guy. Oh boy. Do not call him gay. He'll fuck men. But he's not gay. He's a same-sex lover. That is the... Like, this guy goes back a lot of years. And he is now facing... Right, he was... there was a guy murdered or killed or died in his compound. Come on, I want the OG meme. There was a... an old ass video. Let's go here.
That's so Raven. It's so cool that I can see. That's so Raven. Subscribing to white supremacy. Yeah, you're real good. That's she. Raven, we need to talk. First and foremost, let's talk about what you said on Oprah, saying that you are not black. Girl, you are black. Everything you are is because you are black. The reason why your bank account looked that way is because you are black. The reason why you have a career is because you are black. The reason why you have talent is because you are black. Okay, girl? Them other things that were raped and oppressed into your...
Okay. Popular. Oh, okay. This is what he blew up for.
Aquaba, y'all. So
Aquaba,
I
y'all.
was just chilling outside by the sun because I can do that because I'm black. And then White Jesus came to me. White Jesus was like, Gazi. I said, what, White Jesus? And he was like, you need to train male Saxons. I said, why, White Jesus? He was like, because just like dogs, they need training. I said, okay, I'll do it. So now I'm going to show you.
Like, this is some racism towards white people. They need to be trained like dogs.
These well-trained male Saxons, toilet seat complexion individuals, okay?
Toilet seat complexion individuals.
Disciples of White Jesus, okay? So let's talk to them real quick and let's see what they have to say. Uhuru.
And these guys are just standing there. Like, yeah, I am happy with this. Oh, yep, I'm happy to be affiliated with this.
Do you owe reparations?
Absolutely.
Why you say that? Wait, who is you?
Beryl Shepley.
Uhuru Beryl. Now, you owe me some money. Okay, you owe me reparations.
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Because every freedom that I have and have taken for granted for my entire life
This
has
is
been
sad.
made possible by wealth that my ancestors stole.
Uhuru. Good. Uhuru,
Uhuru.
what your name is?
Jackson.
Uhuru Jackson, you owe me reparations.
I do.
Why that?
Because I have benefited from the wealth that was stolen from you,
Tell it.
as have all my ancestors, the ones who owned slaves and the ones who did not, the Jews in, the white Jews in Hungary.
You better tell on the white Jews. Say that again.
The white Jews in Hungary, the fake Jews.
Yes, fake white Jews.
Fake white Jews.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you unite with reparations.
Completely.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
What your name is again?
Jackson.
Uhuru Jackson.
So the reason why I'm watching this is because this dude is now indicted as a Russian agent, Gazi Kodzo, a Russian agent. Augustus C. Romain Jr., aka Gazi Kodzo, a U.S. citizen residing in St. Petersburg, Florida. By the way, was there a what's called when your name predict you? Name predict. Nominative determinism here. Ann Atlanta, who served as leader of the APSP and founder of Black Hammer in Georgia. So this guy is a Russian agent.
Uhuru.
What's up, Uhuru?
Yep, you heard him, y'all. He said Uhuru. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Where you from?
Seattle.
Did he say Yohuru?
Mm-hmm. He raised around all nothing but African people, y'all. So he don't know nothing about being white. He don't like white people. Ain't that right?
All white people owe reparations, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ain't that right?
That's true.
And what your name is?
Prince.
Uhuru Prince?
Uhuru.
Now, why you open reparations?
Because as a white person, I sit on the pedestal of colonialism and slavery that built not only the wealth of this country, but the whole European world. Therefore, all white people owe reparations, and we're coming to get it.
Uhuru, you better tell it.
Yeah, we coming to get it.
Uhuru. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Oh, that's the whitest man I've ever seen.
What your name is?
Jesse.
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 You owe me reparations.
Correct.
And I want it. When do I want it?
Now.
When do I want it?
Now.
And you gonna get it for me?
Yes, indeed.
All right. Why you owe reparations?
Because every opportunity and amenity I have has been at the expense of my black and brown brothers and sisters around the world. Everything in this country is soaked, saturated with the blood of slavery, with genocide. Even the times that I've had to scrape for dollars in my life, they still bared the face of the slave master, genocidal maniac. And I know full well that even the homeless white man on the street corner is gonna get more head nods and ham sandwiches than the black men across the street.
Sure.
So every white person, no matter how little you got or think you got, you owe money. I owe money. And like my brother Prince said, like my comrade Prince said, if you don't give it, we're gonna come take
Coming
it.
to take it.
So okay, let's be serious for a moment here. Reparations, while I do think is owed to the black population of America, there is a case to be made why you shouldn't pay reparations. There's also a strong case to be made why you should never pay individual reparations. That shit. You can't determine your life. Like if I had slave masters in my family back a few generations, that doesn't determine me being well off now. Like I can still be homeless. Why the fuck would I pay reparations to the descendants of my slave the slave master if I can't survive myself even? Now that's a strong case to be made there. The reparations should have been paid out back then. That would have been the optimal point in time to do it. But of course, we can't go back in time, so we have to adapt with the current situation. Should Obama get reparations? A case could be made. Should he get individual reparations? Fuck that shit. Reparations has to come from the government. Period. No person individually should pay reparations because no person individually is responsible for the situation that the government or the country is in. No person is personally responsible for the suffering that black people have been undergone, unless you're in government, perhaps. I can see a strong case to be made for politicians paying out personal reparations in that case. However, the most optimal thing to do today is to not pay reparations, but to make sure that every motherfucker has health insurance, has a good school to go to, have good food to eat, and have a good paying job. That is the best thing you can do, period. Because that's going to carry on for generations. While reparations might help you in the short term, that doesn't guarantee the next generation getting something. Because what will happen? What will happen? Okay, the government, let's say the government pays out reparations to every person who is descendant of a slave, okay? Every person. Depending on on, I'm guessing, how many slaves you have back. Hey, Blaze, how many slaves you have back in your family history. You'll get a certain amount of money because that thing would have been doled out. Okay, what happens then? You get a few $1,000 in your bank account, and is that going to help you down the line? Probably not. You get 100,000. Okay, you can buy a house. Maybe, depending on where you live. If you live in Los Angeles, there's no fucking shot you'll afford a house there. Maybe you can buy a car. Okay, that shit's gonna drain your bank account faster than anything in your life. The best thing you can do is to change society at its core rather than pay reparations. We are talking, Blaze, about this dude and the recent Russian spy allegations towards the Black Hammer community. And the Black Hammer community, or the Black Hammer movement, was founded by Gazi Kodzo, or Commander Gazi, as he calls himself now.
And I've seen Prince.
That's him.
Take it, all right? We by a church across the street, and Prince ran up on this old white man. What you say up to the old white man coming out the church?
I asked if you want to hear the gospel of reparations.
Hey! Uhuru?
Uhuru.
What your name is?
Virginia.
Uhuru, Virginia. Oh, do I look good in this sun, Virginia?
You always look good.
Thank you. Now you gotta hurry up because you gotta get out the sun, girl. You ain't got no sunscreen, girl. We gotta save your skin. Hurry up, girl. Hurry up.
Okay.
You know the sun don't like you, girl. Come on now.
Okay, every white person does owe reparations, and that is because we owe that money for the colonial oppression that our ancestors have, done to African people, and it continues to this day right here in the U.S., not just all over the world. But
By the way, Gazi Kodzo has said he is not black, he is African. Period. But he continues to call people white rather than European.
here in the U.S. So
like he is a full-on racist towards white people.
White people, no matter who you are, you do owe reparations. You owe them right now, and you need to pay them right now.
Yes.
And you can go to uhurusolidarity.org and click on the button that says pay reparations. That's what you need to do. You need to do it now.
Uhuru! Uhuru!
Say one more thing.
Yes, you may see them t-shirts real quick.
Black power.
Uhuru.
Hey, just like the chairman says,
Chairman who? They might not know.
Chairman
which
Omali
one.
Yeshitela, the
Yes.
African People's Socialist Party and the African Socialist International. A lot of white people will say they don't want to pay reparations because they ain't have nothing to do with slavery. It happened so long ago. But what we have to understand is we are the inheritors of the social wealth that was created by slavery, and African people and other colonized people are the inheritors of the social despair and the social poverty that is the legacy of slavery.
Uhuru, and that is the power of African internationalism, turning cave beasts into revolutionaries for African people. Uhuru, 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 Uhuru. So you heard it here. If you are ready, if you are white, male Saxon, okay.
Okay, yeah. He is full blown. Let's hear how Jackson is gonna twist everything in this story.
Effect, okay? And basically, what they are alleging, in short, we'll read it, but in short, what they're alleging is that there is a Russian-based group called the, let me find the name of it here. It's called the anti-globalist or anti-globalization organization. It just said anti-globalization movement of Russia, okay? They have a representative named Ionov, who is... I guess in part leading this group, the Anti-Globalization Movement of Russia, the AGMR. And Ionov was having a Zoom meeting with some of these Black empowerment leaders, like the Uhuru Movement and Black Hammer Group. And I guess in this Zoom meeting, I don't know if it was a publicly broadcast Zoom meeting live, like we do here, our live streams, or was posted somewhere after the fact. I guess Ionov declared that the Donetsk People's Republic, Lugansk People's Republic, Zaporozhye and Kherson were part of the Russian Federation, and that they should be deemed as part of the Russian Federation, and that, the word should be spread to other people across the world, Americans included. And I guess the Black Hammer Group, Uhuru Movement Group, they concurred that, yes, this is the Russian Federation, and they, say that
Get to the point, Jackson.
Unjustly. and ethnic Russians here are being targeted unjustly by the West. And for that, they are, I get this is being called a foreign influence operation by Russia.
No.
They are-
No. No, Jackson. Again, Gasi Kodso, Russian agent. A federal grand jury in Tampa, Florida, returned a superseding indictment charging 4 U.S. citizens and 3 Russian nationals with working on behalf of the Russian government and in conjunction with the Russian Federal Security Service, FSB. That is their CIA, right? Isn't it? FSB is Russia CIA. Federal Security Service of Russia and blah, blah. Is the principal security force of Russia and the main successor agency of the KGB. Okay. The KGB. I'm sorry, not the KGB. To conduct a multi-year foreign malign influence campaign in the United States. Among other conduct, the superseding indictment alleges that... God, this is small text. Alleges that the Russian defendants recruited, funded, and directed U.S. political groups to act as unregistered illegal agents of the Russian government and sow discord and spread... Is that where he got the Discord call from? And spread pro-Russian propaganda. The indicted intelligence officers in particular participated in covertly funding and directing candidates for local office within the United States. They funded. It has nothing to do with a fucking Discord call. Let's just Discord. So Discord. It has nothing to do with a Discord call. Gasi Kodso Discord call. Let's go here. Discord. And with the gamer platform called okay, here we go. There's something. 4 U.S. citizens, including the leader of far-left extremist group who is already facing state charges in Georgia, were charged this week with working on behalf of the Russian government. Meanwhile, in Detroit, a high-profile member of the far-right Boogaloo movement pleaded guilty to a gun charge. And with a gamer platform called Discord at the center of the huge leak of classified documents, there's nothing to do with... Okay. So this is just this week in what is Discord? Okay. So nothing there on Discord with this. Okay. Yeah, no. Has nothing to do with Discord.
Are declaring without any evidence, without any details, that this anti-globalization movement of Russia that Ionov helps lead is overseen by the FSB, which again, they provided no evidence of. They have no details about this, no information. They just, with wanton disregard, said that this group is somehow aligned with the FSB, and this Ionov guy had a Zoom meeting with these Americans.
This came out yesterday. This came out April 18th. Today is April 22nd. That's 4 days ago. So you had 3 days to find this, and you did nothing.
Black nationals, essentially. And, these aren't like the Black Lives Matter, George Floyd. It's like not like that. It's like these are serious, hardcore, probably agree with us on most issues. They're not the woke agenda people. They stand for their cause. They're like Malcolm X type black nationals. They're serious about what they do. They're not a pawn of the Democratic Party.
They are early Malcolm X black nationals. Because Malcolm X later on regret a lot of things? Malcolm X regret. This is not the same Malcolm X. Why would someone else use the moniker Malcolm X? Businessman Malcolm X. Oh my God, this must be so cringe. I'm going to look at that later. But I think Malcolm X had some regrets later on in how didn't he splits with black nationalism? Suspends Muslim leader plans black nationalist political movement. Malcolm X. Okay, let's go here. Early years, Nation of Islam, period. Hinton Johnson incidents, blah blah. Blah, blah. Dissolution and departure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because they probably killed him. That's right. I guess they would use it to get attention. This guy? Probably. Which is really cringe and should disqualify them forever. Welcome to the chat, by the way. We'll look at this later. This might be interesting, actually.
As you can obviously see, they're not a pawn of the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party elite tyrants are currently weaponizing the Justice Department to go after them. You think that the Justice Department would weaponize their tools, their apparatus to go after Black Lives Matter? Of course not. Of course, Black Lives Matter, who defrauded all of their millions and millions and millions, or if not billions and billions and billions in donations to...
There's a difference between the Black Lives Matter organization and the movement. Those two are not the same, Jackson. You are being dishonest once more in this video.
By like glorious mansions in West Hollywood or Beverly Hills. You think that the Department of Justice is going to go after them? No, because Black Lives Matter is a tool of the Democratic Party. It's a pawn of the Democratic Party. Okay, used to incite a domestic color revolution here. Okay, now they do in fact, use their power, their apparatus, their tools to go after the Black Hammer group and the Uhuru movement group because they're not a pawn of the Democratic Party. And actually...
No, they're a pawn of the Russian government. Congrats.
Uhuru and Black Hammer are standing up for African people. They're standing up for, the Malcolm X vision, black nationalism. They're standing up for Russia, and they understand that the West...
There we go. There we go. They're standing up for Russia. Here we go.
Is unfairly and unjustly targeting Russia and trying to demonize Russia, take Russia down, balkanize it, take Putin out of power, all this stuff. That's why they're going after them, okay?
There is zero balkanization attempts of Russia. What the fuck are you talking about? Demonize Russia? Yeah, they're doing well on their own to demonize themselves. Trust me.
This, let me remind you.
By the way, just SVT. Let's see here if we have. Okay. Here we go.
I hope this is being recorded. We are just a few hundred meters away from Vladimirsky.
This is a Russian ship, if you can't tell by the colors.
We're filming everything on the ship. We're filming antennas, as we've been told by the source. I can see crew members walking around on the deck. I think they're watching us. There's two men staring at us. This is really a strange situation, almost a tense situation.
This ship was traveling outside of Denmark without its signaler on. I don't know what it's called. It's it even went between Gotland and Öland, which is absolutely within Swedish territories. AIS sender? Transmitter. transponder. So this is how you're detected on sea, but you can turn it off. It is easy to turn it off. This is to help civilian ships to not crash into each other, you know, and for the coast guards to know where you are. If you have this off, you're doing something really shady. And they were doing something really shady here. Oh, there's someone with a gun there.
Med hvad? Gevær?
Gevær?
Fuck.
That's like a
Han
rifle.
lægger ikke an til at se på os, vel?
He's not aiming at us, and they respond no. They're now noticing the second person. They are armed, and they seem to be filming us. Have we got enough, Alex? We'll get out of here. Let's take it. Let's be cool about it. So they did not want to get shot, and they knew the risks.
Vi er få kilometer uden for Sjællands Odde.
I'm not gonna dox myself. Maps. And they were... a few kilometer out of Själlandsö. Samsö ligger där borta. Samsö. So they were... This is Själlandsudde, which is what they're talking about here. And here is Samsö, which is... they're a few kilometers outside of Själlandsudde, and Samsö is just over there, they say. So they are somewhere in between here, closer to this. Denmark is all of this. This is Denmark. They have, in other words, probably traveled this way, because this right here is super monitored. So they've probably traveled here to get here.
Samsø ligger lige derovre. Vi er i
Or,
almindeligvis.
to be fair, they might actually have gotten this way around. They might have gotten that way around. I can't know.
Tror jeg kalder indre danske farvande. Og der står en russisk sømand og viser sit våben. Fordi de sejler ud og filmer, vil vi.
And they're showing. He's just saying it's crazy that they showed their guns when all they did was film them. So Russia is doing very well in demonizing themselves right now.
You all is really I don't see it. I was worried doing this story because I'm like, you know, this is really not that different than me sitting down for an interview with Dmitry Polyansky, who is Russia's deputy representative to the United Nations, and having a conversation with him. And, you know, I agree with pretty much everything that guy says when we have our conversation. So what? Is the DOJ now going to charge me with malign influence on elections and with the foreign influence campaign because I have a very popular YouTube show? I get more impressions on my show than some mainstream media, a lot of mainstream media outlets, corporate news outlets. And what? So you're going to tell me that because I'm popular and I stand with Russia and I have certain opinions about the U.S. elections that I comment on because I'm a fucking news show that you're going to charge me?
So he's not going to tell anyone, he's not going to show anyone the actual thing, is he? He's not going to actually read anything. He's just going to lie about it. And that is how he keeps his audience completely in the dark. Jackson, you're a brave soul, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is... Like, nobody here is calling him out. I'm guessing because if they did, he'd delete it. But on the other hand, there are 983 comments. So I don't know if he can monetize everything here. I'm an American that has followed President Putin since he was thrust into power by men who thought him weak, and he fully took the reign. Nobody thought him weak. He's not that popular. This is the first I heard of him. You haven't heard of Jackson Hinkle? Oh my God, you're lucky. Oh my God, are you lucky? There might be more people who haven't heard. Jackson Hinkle versus Sam Cedar. Let's just we're not going to watch all of this, but just to give you an introduction of who Jackson Hinkle is.
Put up those videos again. Where's that thing of the
720p? That's
all the.
Just
he can come back.
I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
She received.
Okay.
Against the squad. I think the media has treated them relatively favorably ever since they have started to act in line and kind of toe the line of the Democratic establishment. I mean, they've been able to receive donations and connections with George Soros and George Soros's family for not only their campaigns, but associated ventures like the Sunrise Movement. So I think those are just a few of the ways that they have
gotten preferential treatment from the Democratic establishment. In what way? Because as far as I can tell, like for instance, AOC, Katie Porter's not exactly in the squad, but I imagine you include her in this group. They got actually the opposite of preferential treatments when it came to committee positions. Committees are the most important thing in terms of exercising power. They literally censured Ilhan Omar. They attempted to do it almost.
I think in some regards they have been attacked, and there is going to be that friction there. But in some ways, Sam, because you're trying to act like there's no ways that they've been.
Come on,
Omar,
just get
for
to the
example,
juicy parts.
She was made whip of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. We also have Ilhan Omar introducing Bert. So that is what they have supported.
Hold on. Let me just, let's just have a dialogue here. You say they get preferential treatment. I'm trying to figure out what it is that they're sold out for. Like, what did they get paid in? And you said preferential treatment from the establishment. I listed things where they got the opposite, but you're telling me that Ilhan Omar is named the whip of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and they had the opportunity to negotiate with the Biden administration. That's the preferential treatment they got over other members of Congress?
Well, I mean, the de facto position for progressives would be for the Democratic establishment to roast.
Okay. This is he's so slow. Here. Okay, we can actually go to some highlights here, perhaps.
You feel scorned by them, but you still think they're the most progressive members of Congress, correct?
That's not a high bar. I hold them to what they. No, Sam, listen. Don't interrupt. I was about to answer your question and you interrupted me. I was about to answer your question and you interrupted me.
Okay.
I hold them to the bar that they ran on while campaigning for Congress. That bar is saying stuff like, "I'm going to fight for Medicare for all. We can't wait 100 more years. We need to fight for it right now." Saying stuff like, I don't care if I'm a one-term congressperson.
But now Jackson Hinkle supports Donald J. Trump. MAGA communism, Jackson Hinkle.
One other quick thing. Hey,
Is there a
was defunded.
There we go.
Of a society.
Communism. Now, a lot of people are going to hear that hashtag MAGA communism and be a little bit confused. So I'm going to let you explain what that means, because I don't think you're a communist, Jackson.
And he's correct. For once in OAN's life, a reporter on their network is correct. For once.
Well, I actually am a communist, but
At the end of the day, communists have a lot of the same goals as working class Americans made up in the MAGA movement. We want more prosperity for average Americans. We want to end big tech. We want to end big agriculture, big pharma. We want to stop the...
There's nothing in the communist movement that directly opposes tech companies or big pharma. Like, if big pharma is made up of the workers of the companies, like if they own the companies and they band together to create big pharma, then that is part of socialism. That is part of communism. Like, there's nothing directly or inherently, I should say, that these two are opposed to each other.
Monopolies and the subsidization of monopolies all across America, and we want to reinstill patriotic
we should also
education.
say, like, stopping
patriotic education. That is directly, intrinsically, inherently opposing communism. A patriotic education, please.
With treason or foreign influence campaign, or this is insane. So let's take a look at the details of what is going on, because that is the case. They could feasibly charge me with this stuff, or indict me over this
unless
stuff.
you're taking money from them. Which...
And yeah, I mean, given that they've done it to them. So let's read a little bit here. 4 Americans affiliated with a black empowerment political organization have been charged, along with 3 Russians, with conspiring to covertly sow discord in U.S. society, spread Russian propaganda, and interfere illegally in U.S. elections, according to an indictment unsealed Tuesday.
Illegally. Interfere illegally.
U.S. citizens and 2 Russians were added to an existing case in Tampa, Florida, federal court involving Alexander Ionov, described by prosecutors as the founder of a Moscow-based organization funded by the Russian government to carry out a clandestine influence campaign in the United States.
So the Russian government funded a clandestine influence campaign from within the United States. And the reason they did that was because the US have made a very strong remark towards Russia to not interfere digitally. So they went, okay, but if we send one of our own and he funnels money to allies within the US and they funnel money to political candidates, that's going to be 2 steps removed from us. So it's going to look more legit, and it's going to be harder for the US to discover this. I'm guessing, considering Gatsi Kodzo is murder charges. A guy was killed on his compound. Infamous cult leader arrested after dead body found in home. Like, this is probably where the like, where did this money come from? How did you afford all of this? Like, they started to look into it after that. Had they not done that, had they not killed someone, who knows? Who fucking knows?
So I guess this is entirely different than, say, like Joe Biden inviting Volodymyr Zelensky himself to come and personally lobby the United States Congress, the 400 however many members of the United States Congress, to send Ukraine more money.
Yes, it is different, because he wasn't acting in a clandestine way. Nobody is gonna be surprised that Vladimir Zelensky is acting on behalf of the Ukrainian government, because he was there on a diplomatic passport, probably. Nobody's going to be surprised by that, Jackson.
And U.S. taxpayer, we had this whole idea, no taxation without representation. That was one of the ideas that helped create this country. No taxation without representation. So what are we doing, sending hundreds of billions of dollars to the Nazis? Yes, Nazis. Yes, Nazis. Let me just show you this, by the way. I saw this pop up on my screen today.
It's like the 5. It's like they have a spinning wheel of arguments, and this is like like the biggest slice on it. Half of the spinning wheel is just Nazis in Ukraine.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I have to share this with everyone. This is quite
Unlike
the
Nazis in
collage
Russia?
here. Yes, Nazis in Ukraine.
Yeah, nobody's surprised by Nazis in Ukraine. We all know it. Everyone knows it. We've known it for a long time. And do Nazis should Nazis not be allowed to exist peacefully? Like they shouldn't be allowed to murder people. They shouldn't be allowed. I want to stop them from gaining political power, but I want them to be able to live peacefully, because that's a human right, and Russia is violating that human right.
Sending hundreds of billions of dollars to these guys. No representation for Americans as to where this money goes. We're sending it to Nazis. This is insane.
This is. Oh my God. Jackson, your argument is incoherent. Was that where you're going with this? No representation, no taxation without representation. So why are we sending tax money to these people? What was it?
No representation for Americans as to where this money goes. We're sending it to...
No representation for the Americans as for where this money goes. That has nothing to do with no representation, no taxation without representation. These two are fully incompatible arguments. He's talking about Azov Battalion. No, there are more Nazis in Ukraine than Azov Battalion. The Azov Battalion, the reason it became so big is because they defended. I can't remember the city specifically, but they were very good at defending that city. And a lot of people who weren't Nazis decided to join up with them because they were good at defending Mariupol. That's it. They were good at defending Mariupol. So a lot of people from that area joined them because of that. So there are people in the Azov Battalion who aren't Nazis, but yes, the Azov Battalion is very problematic, to say the least. However, the entire Russian military is very problematic, to say the least.
The Nazis. This is insane. So that's okay if you're white and you stand with Ukraine. I guess that's completely fine. But if you're a black national who stands with Russia, then you're going to be charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States and sow discord in the United States and malign and election interference, all this stuff.
Just lying.
It's absolutely insane and frightening to me, okay?
Keep reading.
So, let's read a little bit more here. The four Americans are all part of the African People's Socialist Party and Uhuru movement, which has locations in St. Petersburg, Florida. No pun intended. I get confused because they say St. Petersburg.
You know what? Fair enough, Jackson. Fair enough.
I don't know. In St. Louis, among those charged are Omali Yeshitila, chairman of the U.S.-based organization, which was raided by the FBI last summer when Ionov was originally charged. So yeah, they were the ones who were raided last summer, and now they're formally... So they raided them last summer, and now they're formally indicting them, charging them.
The reason they were raided... Jackson, we just went over this. The reason they were raided was because they found a dead body in their home. Someone was murdered. That's why they were raided.
Foreign intelligence service allegedly weaponized our First Amendment rights, freedoms Russia denies to its own citizens, to divide Americans and interfere in the elections in the United States.
Russian foreign intelligence services allegedly weaponized our First Amendment rights, freedoms Russia denies its own citizens to divide Americans and interfere. Yeah.
That's from the Assistant Attorney General of the United States. The department will not hesitate to expose and prosecute those who sow discord and corrupt the U.S. elections in service of hostile foreign interests, regardless of whether the culprits are U.S. citizens or foreign individuals abroad. All right. So the chairwoman of this group and three other U.S. citizens, Penny Joanne Hess, Jesse Neville, and Augustus C. Romaine Jr. are charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States. And Hess, Shatila, and Neville are also charged with impersonating agents of a foreign government. Ionov and the two other Russians who remain in their country face the fraud conspiracy charge. So now they're also going to try to indict Russians living in Russia, which makes no sense to me, but I guess they're doing that as
No, because the U.S. Jewish have no jurisdiction there. How would they charge them? I'm guessing the 2 Russians who remain in their country, they have conducted clandestine operations within the U.S. The crime was committed in the U.S. or towards the U.S. So if they ever travel to the U.S., they will be charged because they funneled money towards the U.S.
as well. Good luck. Court records did not list attorneys for any of the 7 defendants, and it was not immediately clear if they have been arrested. I want to take this moment to share with the Uhuru Movement and Black Hammer Group. If any of you would like to join me on my program, I don't really know the legality of doing something like that, but I would sure love to talk to you, or maybe one of your attorneys.
Fine. I don't see why that
hear
would be
what's
a problem.
happening, because A, this is not getting a lot of press. B, it's only getting one-sided press. And C, I don't think you're guilty of anything at all. Okay? I think you're guilty of telling the truth. I think you're guilty of trying to protect those in Russia who have come under the, come under the attack of the West and the United States. I think you're guilty of standing for maybe a more multipolar world that will bring about hopefully more equality and freedom and growth and, I don't know, higher standards of living for people across the world. I think you're guilty of that, but I don't think you're guilty of defrauding America or sowing discord or conspiracy. I think those that are sowing discord and conspiracy, again, is the Biden administration.
So I want to know. The reason I keep watching, because he's saying nothing really. The reason I keep watching is because I want to know if he ever mentions this participating covertly funding and directing candidates for local office within the United States. This is why they were arrested. I want to see, does he ever mention it?
Currently taking hundreds of billions of dollars of our money and sending it to Nazis in Ukraine. Okay, I think they're the ones who are kind of sowing the discord and the conspiracy here. But that's just me. All right. So I feel free to reach.
Oh, okay. So we're just skipping a bit here. The court records did not list attorneys, blah, blah, blah. Prosecutor said, I know, blah, blah, overseeing the Russian intelligence service. They recruited U.S.-based organization to help sway elections, make it appear there was strong support in the U.S. for Russia's invasion of Ukraine and backing efforts such as 2015 United Nations petition to decry the genocide of African people in the U.S., according to China. Among other things, the indictment charges that an unnamed candidate for local office in St. Petersburg, Florida, that is, received clandestine funding. So he just skips it, and political strategy from the group. That is why they are indicted. Ionov and another Russian said that at one point that their Florida efforts would extend to the 2020 presidential campaign, which they call the main topic of the year.
Right. So, I feel free to reach out. You guys know where to reach out.
The Uhuru Group did not have a candidate who ran unsuccessfully. Okay, sorry. The Uhuru Group did have a candidate who ran unsuccessfully for St. Petersburg City Council in 2019. I'm not going to attempt it. Who is not charged in the indictment. She held a news conference in 2022 in which she defended Russia, saying world colonial powers have been collaborating against Russia for more than a century. So just defending Russia is not enough to be indicted. You have to get money from them. The money. It's all about the money. I'm worried because Ukraine will face a ton of social and economic issues after this war. And if they lose, it could be a perfect breeding ground for a big rise in if Ukraine loses, there's going to be Nazis all over Ukraine. If they win, I think it's going to be easier to sell them on not Nazism, They were already, the Nazis in Ukraine existed while Ukraine was under the thumb of Russia. That's where they started to pop up. We had in Sweden, didn't we have some people go to Russia for training? They would have a new stab in the back myth about Jew. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. They were actually went to Russia for this. Oh, come on. Real German? Why in German? English. Why can't I find it? Why? English. According to prosecutors, 2 of the Nazis who are suspected of bombings in Gothenburg have received paramilitary training in Russia, more precisely at the Partisan Center in St. Petersburg. Nothing happens in St. Petersburg that Putin isn't aware of or hasn't sanctioned. Russians who want to fight in Ukraine train there, but also foreign extremists. Whatever you need for military training, they can teach you, from alpinism to how to make a bomb, says Vera Alperovich of the Russian organization Sova Center. The Partisan Center is located in somewhat shabby basement in Russia's second largest city, St. Petersburg, under the auspice of the ultra-nationalist organization Russian Imperial Movement, or more specifically its paramilitary branch, Russian Imperial Legion. A series of training programs are carried out here. NMR, NMR Azov. This is not what I wanted. NMR tränar med. Okay. Okay, I can't find but Scream Dream is confirming with me that he's also read the that Swedish Nazis went down to Ukraine to train with the Nazis. We've known about this for years. This isn't something new, but the Nazis grew under Russia's thumb. Okay, when Russia had their president in Ukraine, that's when the Nazis grew. Now we see the opposite. I am certain that had we had a chance, we would see Ukraine deal with their Nazis if they just had peace. But you don't deal with people who wants to fight for your country's sovereignty by throwing them in jail. You let them fight, and then you can deal with them afterwards. There's a big rift in our far right between supporting Russia or Ukraine. Yeah, the Sweden Democrats they're not officially taking a pro-Ukraine, pro-Russia stance. Officially, they are pro-Ukraine, but they never vote pro-Ukraine. Didn't they in the EU vote down to support Ukraine? Yep. Everyone in the EU, the European Union votes. Give me 2 seconds, boys. And I'm back. So while everyone within the European Union backed Ukraine, the Sweden Democrats, the Nazis in our government, didn't back the proposal. But officially, they do not. They support Ukraine.
Up to me. Prosecutors said Ayanov operated an entity called the Anti-Globalization Movement of Russia that was used to carry out its U.S. influence efforts.
So just to get back to this, he just skips the actual crimes they committed.
But that's just me. All right. So
like this is deliberately. He is deliberate in what he's doing here. He does not want his audience to hear the actual crimes being committed here.
Feel free to reach out. You guys know where to reach out to me. Prosecutors said Ayanov operated an entity called the Anti-Globalization Movement of Russia that was used to carry out its U.S. influence efforts.
Or did he? Among other things, didn't I in charge on...
Overseen by the Russian intelligence service known as the FSB. They recruited U.S.-based...
His eyebrows are like his entire forehead is an eyebrow, pretty much.
Organizations to help sway elections, make it appear there was strong support in the U.S. for Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and backing efforts such as the 2015 United Nations petition to decry the genocide of African people in the U.S., according to the indictment. Among other things, the indictment charges that an unnamed candidate for local office in St. Petersburg received clandestine...
Here we go. Let's see how he's... What's the excuse gonna be? That these are trumped up charges? Is that gonna be his excuse? They're lying? Is that gonna be it? Or why is it illegal for Russia to fund a candidate in America? Why would that be illegal? America does it every time, and America is wrong for doing it.
Funding and political strategy from the group. Now, that would be something, I don't know the details of this. Again, they've provided literally no evidence of this.
Of course they didn't provide evidence. Why would they provide evidence in the indictment? The evidence is going to be shown during the trial.
Being the case, But
they've shown it to the grand jury, probably.
Yeah, I guess if that is the case, if they're taking money from like a foreign organization... this one candidate, which is unnamed, we don't even...
And the candidate isn't being charged because they probably didn't know. They just took money from supporters. It just happens that the supporters got their money from Russia to support this candidate.
Know who this is. This is a separate thing, but semi-related. I guess this would make... that might be a case that they could make if they could prove that. But what I'll say is, I guess they're no more guilty of committing a crime like that, and it was probably nowhere near the level of the crime that is similar to that was committed by the Biden administration.
It took him 12 minutes out of 16 to get to the actual charges.
Or rather, Joe Biden is vice president under the Obama administration when he gave his son a board seat. He negotiated to have his son get a board seat for the natural gas company. What's the name of it? The natural gas company.
The Ukrainian gas company?
Ukrainian Burisma. And
to my knowledge, Biden did diddly squat to help Hunter Biden get that position. Hunter Biden leveraged his father, being the vice president at the time, to get the position. But Joe Biden, did not help Hunter to get that position. He just, I'm the son of the vice president of America, therefore I should have this position. Okay.
And he got like $80,000 a month from Burisma. Hunter Biden knows nothing about natural gas. He knows a lot about crack cocaine, but he knows nothing about natural gas, but he gets a board seat for Burisma Holdings Group, $80,000 a month, and it just so happens that Joe Biden was the one who was overseeing U.S.-Ukraine relations when this was all taking place. So,
And to my knowledge, Joe Biden has been proven to have acted impeccably during that time. Probably because he knew how it would look otherwise. Joe Biden, Burisma, Accusations. Biden-Ukraine conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory alleges that the then Vice President Biden withheld loan guarantees to pressure Ukraine into firing a prosecutor to prevent a corruption investigation into Burisma and to protect his son. The United States did withhold government aid to pressure Ukraine into removing the prosecutor in accord with the official and bipartisan policy of the federal government of the United States. The U.S. government, along with the European Union, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, believed that the prosecutor to be corrupt and ineffective and too lenient in investigating companies and oligarchs, including Burisma and its owner. A January 2018 video shows Biden taking credit for withholding the loan guarantees to have the prosecutor fired, acting to implement bipartisan U.S. policy rather than the reasons the conspiracy theory alleges. They wanted him fired so he could be tougher on the corporations. The reason Burisma probably hired Hunter was to make sure that they had their boy still in power.
The Obama administration as vice president, okay? And remember, 10% for the big guy. Never forget that. So there are no administration Ukraine relations when this was all taking place. So under the Obama administration as vice president, okay? And remember, 10% for the big guy. Never forget that. So they're no more guilty.
10% to the big guy? What does he mean by that?
This person's probably no more guilty of committing any crime than the Biden family, and it's probably a far...
Blaze, you seem to have been correct in this. Lies is his is the defense he's going with.
Or lesser crime, if it actually is a crime at all. We'll see what happens. But make no mistake
wait,
about
a lesser crime?
This is than the Biden family, and it's probably a far lesser crime if it actually is a crime at all. We'll see what happens.
If it is a crime at all, the allegations are a crime. The allegations being made, that's a crime. You mean if they're convicted?
But make no mistake about it. This is the last swipe at our freedom of speech. This is a warning shot, or maybe more than a warning shot. This is a shot that's been fired pretty close to our head.
So he acknowledges that what they have allegedly done is a crime if it can be proven, and that's always the line you go to. If the crimes are proven, that's why it's allegedly. He acknowledges that it's a crime, but he still claims this is a threat to our freedom of speech. That is interesting. That is like the bottom. Was it the bottom melee? What's it called? When you say one thing but you mean something else, or you retreat to something else. And I can never. No. What's it called? God damn it! Never mind. But he is twisting the words Mott and Bailey, not bot. There, Mott and Bailey. There we go. There we go. The Mott and Bailey. The Mott in this is the Bailey. The Bailey in this case is they're criminals. The Mott is we have to protect freedom of speech. But those two have nothing to do with each other. It's incoherent.
Everyone who does stuff like what we do here, I live in the United States, so I'm better off than some. I don't live in Germany. I don't live in France. I've seen some people in Germany and France be arrested or threatened with arrest. I know there was a young fellow who was doing war reporting in Ukraine from France, and he can't go back home now. He's applying for Russian citizenship. And
oh my God. French. Oh my God, I can't spell. French reporter, Ukraine applying for Russian citizenship. French journalist expert Bouquet applied for Russian citizen political asylum. Adrian Bouquet was the first Western volunteer to state publicly that the Bucha developments were an outright false flag operation by the Ukrainian armed forces. Oh my God. Russian usage. Okay. Okay, let's hear what Russia says about this. January 11th, Adrian Bouquet, the French expert and journalist, Adrian Bouquet. Who is he? It's all Russian sites, except for this, I guess. Adrian Bouquet, the former French soldier who had traveled to the Donbass region, was knifed by two men on the street in Istanbul. Is an investigation already underway? Are French and Turkey engaged in negotiations on this matter? Okay. The Frenchman Adrian, what is this? Stop fake, by the way. English, I'm guessing it's a Russian. Stopfake.org. Yeah, it's a Russian site. Witness crime committed by Ukrainian Nazis in Bucha. Is it Bucha? Former French soldier Adrian Bouquet told Radio Sud that during his visit to Bucha, he witnessed crimes committed by the Azov fighter against civilians and Russian prisoners of war. Okay. On NATO weapons at the mission of the Donetsk People's Republic to the Joint Center on Control and Coordination of Issues Related to Ukraine's War Crimes, he is also a volunteer. So he volunteered for Russia, I'm guessing. Bouquet was the first Western volunteer to say publicly that the Bucha developments were an outright false flag operation by the Ukrainian armed forces. He was unjustifiably persecuted in France and narrowly escaped death in an assassination attempt by Ukrainian nationals in Istanbul. Mm-hmm.
I think he may have gotten it, actually. And there was a German young woman who was doing good reporting, and she is being charged.
So they're not being, by the way, they are not being charged in France or being persecuted by the Justice Department or whatever, because they are reporters, as he claims here.
He's applying for Russian citizenship in France, and there was a young fellow who was doing war reporting in Ukraine from France, and he can't go back home now. He
didn't just go do war reporting. He was a volunteer for Russia. That is why he's being charged. If you go volunteer for ISIS, you're gonna get charged.
He's applying for Russian citizenship, and I think he may have gotten it, actually. And there was a German young woman who was doing good reporting, and she is being charged in Germany. And I'm sure there's more. I'm not aware.
And let's see what she did. German female reporter charged Russia. Let's see. German journalist Alina Lipp has said she faced 3 years in prison in her home country for reporting from Russian Eastern Donbass region. The charge against her related to coverage from her News from Russia Telegram channel, where she shared information with its 175,000 subscribers in both German and Russian. In an interview with the Redonka worldwide website, Redonka. Really? Okay. She explained that she is subject to criminal proceedings by the German federal government after receiving a letter from the prosecutor's office. She's accused by German authorities of supporting the Russian invasion of Ukraine and facing 3 years in prison under Article 140 of the Constitution or a monetary fine. The letter says, for example, I say in my Telegram channel that the population of Donbass supports the fact that Russia has launched a special operation. I also said that for several years, Ukrainians have been killing civilians in Donbass and that this is genocide. there have been more murders of civilians in the Donbas region since Russia invaded by Russians than all the time of the occupation of the Donbas region. And it turns out that it turns out to be a crime for Germany. So they took 1,600 euro from my bank account and didn't even tell me about it, Miss Lipp said. German authorities also closed down her father's bank account without warning, she claimed. Ms. Lipp is a former Green Party politician who has been based in Ukraine's eastern Donbas region for 6 months. She says she just films what she sees and doesn't spread fake information. Despite charges against her, she plans to continue reporting from Donetsk, which she said is being shelled daily by the Ukrainian armed forces. Reporting in Ukraine is tightly restricted, and those who deviate from the Kiev line do so at serious risk for their safety. Placed in government kill list in 2014. Italian photojournalist photograph. I want to see did all she did was report on it. Then I can see there be a case for being an overreach. I don't like criminalizing opinions. What was her name, by the way? India Today. What? Shut up.
My name is Alina Lipp.
I don't want to hear from you. God damn it. So there might be, I can't find it, unfortunately, but there might be some monetary thing here. Create delusion. This is obviously an anti-Russian organization and website, so let's have that in mind. Russia's war propaganda reaches hundreds of thousands in Germany, who are the people who make Putin's lies socially acceptable. Alina Lipp, best known for a pro-Russian Telegram channel, News from Russia, where she spreads propaganda and misinformation. Lipp's mother is German and father is Russian. Oh, okay. They remove that context. According to Alina, her father, Vladimir Lipp, told her the truth about the Russo-Ukrainian conflict around 2014 after the Revolution of Dignity and after Russia annexed Crimea. After annexation, she actually traveled to Crimea and launched the YouTube channel called Happy in Crimea. Interesting. The characters of her video compared life in Crimea before and after the Russian occupation, of course, in favor of the latter. For example, he claimed that the living conditions on the peninsula are much better than in the countries of the EU. Please. Such a sort of person as Lipp is a part of the group of relatively attractive young women who do pro-Kremlin propaganda, along with people like Mira Tirada, Maria Butina, Lyubov, blah, blah, blah. Their job is to show everything Russia does in a good light and constantly criticize the West and Ukraine. They have all now relocated to Russia or to areas that Russia occupies illegally. In an Orwellian way, she calls herself a peace journalist. At some point, she started reporting from occupied by Russia, Donbas, to create propaganda content. In January 2022, she was part of the big group claiming that Russia does not want war and is a peaceful country. On 16th of February 2022, she was visiting a conference called Geopolitical War of the West Against Russia, the Ukrainian case in Russia. So I'm guessing that the reason Germany has has charged her and frozen her father's account is because there's money funneled from Russia to them. That is my assumption here. Money? Nothing. Funding? Fund. Nothing. But there might not be. If there are no funds being coming to her from Russian government, then I think the charges should be dropped, obviously. And the same goes with her father. Just because you are Russian, just because you agree with Russia, I don't think the government should charge you. I understand why that would happen in Ukraine, though, because they are at direct war with that government. So during wartime, I can understand having those rules. In peacetime, I'm sorry, I don't like it.
Aware of, but America now looks like we're headed down that same path as well. It's very, very frightening to say the least. I hope nothing but the best for the Uhuru movement and Black Hammer Group. And this is not the America that we know and love. And it just shows how much of a fraud the whole democracy and freedom thing is. Because
remember, he's read that they are charged for taking money from Russia. And he's acting as if it's just a freedom of speech thing.
People don't care about it. They'll do anything to further their political agenda and try to stomp out the fire of momentum that Russia and China carry in their torch of multipolarity each and every day. Okay, so I'm not going to be streaming tonight. That's why I wanted to do this video. It's an important story. I didn't cover it on my last stream.
Okay. Complete and utter propagandist, Jackson Hinkle. Thank you for that riveting report. Thank you. Thank you for spreading propaganda. Thank you for dismissing actual charges of funding from Russia towards political movements. Like, what would it take? What would it take for someone like him to be disillusioned by Russia? Like, I don't think there's anything that anyone can do to make him become disillusioned by Russia. Yeah, he did debate Vush once. It did not go well. He debated them on Iran and the chemical attacks, and he completely disintegrated during that debate. But he completely ignored what was happening. And this is the thing with Jackson. Nothing you say changes his mind. Nothing you say changes his audience's mind. As you can tell from this comment section, they completely ignore the actual charges here. I could see those federal police arrest Garland Nixon, and this thing getting really blown up. We're living in times of trouble. Who's Garland Nixon? That sounds not just Nixon, but that sounds familiar in general. Garland Nixon? Oh, that guy. Wait, he spoke at... Wait, no. Center for Political Innovation. He spoke there?
Our next...
Oh, that is so embarrassing. That is so embarrassing. Very good observation. No taxation without representation. Okay. Like, Jackson, you're a brave man. Continue your good work. Nothing they say here nobody is acknowledging this. What do I think of the Vosh Contra beef? I think it's stupid, first of all. I think Contra overreacted. She wanted, because the whole thing came about, the big blow up between them did not come from Vosh calling J.K. Rowling being misogynistic towards J.K. Rowling. It came from Kat Black writing a 150 tweet long thread on Vosh, where she exposed that they had a sexual, like a digital sexual relation with each other, and calling him his dick mid. Like, is white dick my favorite? No, not necessarily. She said something like that. It's really weird, and Contra refused to listen to Vosh's arguments at all. She didn't hear him out at all. She just took Kat Black's position, and then she blocked Vosh. Just because Vosh wanted to explain himself. Like, it is really stupid, and I think Contra is in the wrong here. It doesn't mean that misogyny isn't rampant. Misogyny isn't an issue. Of course it is. But that doesn't mean we can't joke about it. That doesn't mean we can't be edgy. But it's fine if you don't want the edgy left to be a part of your personal circle. But that doesn't mean they aren't good for the movement in general. You know, but she is. I mean, is she even a content creator anymore? Really? Yes, she posted a new video. But that's the first video in a year, I want to say. Almost 10 months. 10 months ago, she posted this video. And 4 days ago, she posted this video. But it's interesting, despite the amount of conversation I've seen about this, like, don't get me wrong, 2.1 million is still a huge amount, and it's more than she has subscribers. So, I mean, this is more than well. But she did have 5.1 and 6.4 the last time she talked about J.K. Rowling. 5 million here, 3 million here. So while she can, she can coast on these the 2 million here, but I mean, sorry. Yeah, in the end, it's a stupid beef. I think Contra would do well to have a conversation with Vosh. Actually, I think she'd actually maybe not change her mind necessarily, but she'd at least be more receptive to his point of view, I think. We discovered during this segment, however, there's a second Malcolm X. A Malcolm X I've never heard about. And someone who probably shouldn't be using the moniker Malcolm X. Malcolm X tells of one of his biggest regrets from 2018. We'll read the article. If it's interesting, we'll look at this video as well. Businessman Malcolm X has become known as the people's blesser after his random acts of kindness have been shared far and wide on social media. The dude claims to have given away more than R4M? What is R4M? I don't think this is the right thing. Rocket air-to-air. It's a missile. He's been giving away missiles to those in need. But says he still has regrets of not giving enough. Social media is filled with videos of Malcolm X giving to anyone he meets in need. But he told Chaisa Live about an incident that still leaves him feeling sad for not being able to help. I was driving from the airport in Joburg. I'm guessing that's Johannesburg. And I saw this young white... So he's in South Africa. And I saw this young white couple with a baby in their arms. They were crossing the highway. I could see they were in need, but I couldn't stop. In that moment, my mind was going crazy, thinking of how I could help. I took pictures of them to try to identify them, and then later tried to go look for them. The couple had gone down an embankment after crossing the highway and were nowhere to be seen when Malcolm returned to the area. I asked around, but no one had seen them or knew who they were. I even put their picture on social media asking people to help me find them. He said several months after the incident, he still thinks of the couple. What if I could have helped them and I didn't? For all the things I do, it still hurts when you can't help. Malcolm has given to people of all races, but told Saisa Live in August that he has received messages from people calling me a sellout for not giving only to black people. I get messages asking me why I am giving to white people when they still haven't given back our land. But I am not about that. I give to everyone. I don't see black or white in poverty. I get criticized. People say I'm a sellout. I'm not a sellout. Okay, you know what? You know what? I might have been too harsh. I mean, you're a businessman, so go fuck yourself. But you know what? As businessmen go, this is still though, like giving just like this helps very few people. There are more effective ways of doing this.
My
and
name
also,
is Malcolm X.
don't film yourself. Do not film yourself doing this.
As in, the name is Malcolm, the surname is X. I'm from a very poor background. I was born and bred in the Val, spent some time in the Free State. I grew up in extreme poverty. I remember I used to study on an empty stomach. I used to write exams on an empty stomach. That's why I started something called Campus Challenge, whereby I go to teacher institutions, high schools as well, and share the little money I have with students, because that 100 rand, 200 rand, 500 rand, 1,000 or more that I give to students, it makes a big difference.
I don't like the whole filming, just giving up money like that. I think that's unsavory, if anything. So yeah, I do not like that at all.
Do you make white jokes?
Have I only been streaming for I've been streaming for 2 hours, haven't I? Damn. I was gonna say only, but I miscalculated in my head. There is another video that I happened to stumble upon. Is it okay to be racist to white people? Why don't we listen and see? Maybe we can learn something. Whitey has some issues. I'm not gonna lie. Whitey has some issues. But to be racist towards... Is it okay to be racist towards us? I don't think so.
Do you make white jokes?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been guilty of it. I don't think
I don't see any issue with doing white jokes.
it's possible to be racist towards white people.
Racism was
There we
invented
have
by
it.
white people. What do you think?
I saw that and I'm like, the white girl, the black woman, she's like, I've been dabbling in it. I'm not gonna lie. The white girl's like, no, you can't be racist towards us. Go fuck yourself. There's no issue here.
It's more accepted in society to make jokes about white people.
Because they make jokes about the rest of us.
White people.
No, that's not why it's so acceptable. The reason it's acceptable in society to have to make white jokes is because we are the dominant demographic. You doing white jokes doesn't help further institutionalized racism, systemic racism. Nothing you can say furthers that. And that is why it's acceptable to make jokes about us, and why it's not acceptable to make reverse jokes. It has nothing to do with the amount of jokes the other races do, because guess what? That's racism. If that was the bar at which you could make jokes, then you're just furthering racism at the end of the day.
I've never gone through any oppression.
So the question I want to
Which also isn't true. Ask the Irish.
ask is it okay to be racist towards white people?
I still struggle with this myself. Despite their ancestral impact on America, it's not right to put all of them in that box.
I don't think
Like I said, it's going to be white people saying it's acceptable, and black people go, you know what? I don't think we should do it. Black people are going to have the thoughtful answers to this because they've actually thought through it. While white people go, yeah, no, that's fine.
it's okay to be racist towards anyone. White people are still people.
It is possible to be racist towards white people as well, yes.
I don't think you can be racist towards white people.
What do you mean by that?
Racism was invented by white people.
Racism was invented by white people.
You can't take it out of historical context. So historically, there's been one race that has more power in the system. Racism was invented by white people to protect white power primarily.
Racism wasn't invented by white people. Okay, let's try and be charitable here. The type of racism that the West, and when I say the West, I mean from the point of time that we had a West, a unified, like not unified, but a more modern society. We can't go back 300 years and call it the West, because it's about politics and a more of a unified movement, so to say. But from the point that we had it, like the Belgian slavery in Africa, horrifying. Americans would blush if they knew about it. Americans would go, oh, we didn't treat our slaves that bad. At least we didn't do it that bad. So that type of racism, that type of enslavement, sure, that was invented by white people to perpetuate whiteness, to perpetuate white superiority. But if we go back to the Romans, they had slaves, they had racism. They have racism towards anyone who wasn't Roman, no matter what your color was. That has nothing to do. They were racist towards anyone who wasn't Roman. Had nothing to do with the skin color. Had everything to do with their perception of your civilized manners or how civilized you were.
I don't think it's possible to be racist towards white people. There needs to be a system of oppression. Generally, white people are the ones controlling that system of oppression.
Why do you think it's...
You can still be racist towards us. For example, imagine you walk in... I don't know if the Bronx is still, or Harlem is still primarily black. But imagine you walk into a primarily black neighborhood and they start walking up to you and going, hey, Whitey, get the fuck out of here, Whitey. Hey, Cracker, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, that's going to be... There can be some institutionalized racism there. It's not going to be as bad as black people have it in the South or wherever. It's not going to be that bad. It's not going to be a sundown town for white people. But it can still be institutionalized racism, just on a smaller scale.
Or accepted in society to make jokes about white people?
Because they make jokes about the rest of us constantly.
So do you feel like you have your guard up against white people?
Sometimes I do.
When white people are
Yeah, I can see that.
going through hardship, they're not as sensitive
But is it just going to be like bam, 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 bam? Is this all the video is? If that's the case, that's going to be quite boring, actually.
to it as you would be to a black community. In general, like white people, the privilege behind that.
You make white jokes?
I do sometimes. A little bit, but I'm trying to do better.
Because over the last few years, there's a growing movement where we're telling white people not only to ignore, but to accept things that we would never say to another race.
Too many white people in here, and this is a space for people of color. White women.
And if progress is the goal...
Okay.
Race.
Too many white people in here, and this is a space for people of color.
This is obviously a joke. What? Nobody says that. White people.
Women. And if progress is the goal, then we must acknowledge and consider...
Oh, and she, again, obviously a joke. She was the one asking for white genocide. See here, Asian Asian woman TikTok white genocide. Can we get it?
And racism.
Hey, Field, which both date back.
No, I just want the actual TikTok.
Controversy
Here, okay, see if we can.
of color. You need to ask permission from everybody.
No, okay, that's
in
not the one I thought it was. Okay.
Consistencies and call out the double standards.
Bro, you make fun of white people all the time.
Not a whitey. I mean, bro, dude, I'm just trying to make a video right now. But would questioning this issue make me a white apologist or an Uncle Tom? But more importantly, am I making the problem worse by even talking about it? Guess we gon' see. How would you define racism?
Racism is judging or seeing yourself differently from somebody else because of the color of your skin.
I would just say just preconceived notions about someone based on their skin color.
It's like a systemic system where basically people are
Those are two different things. Not necessarily they inform each other, but I mean, systemic racism is systemic racism.
starting off at a way different point because of the color of their skin.
Racism is made up social structure. It exploits people based on their race. Globally, it seems like there's a lot of whiteness controlling racism.
Is it okay to be prejudiced towards white people then?
Sure.
Is it okay to have prejudice towards black people?
I mean, it's not okay, but I mean, I think racism describes a system of power.
So for some, it seems like racism is about punching down, but not punching up. But does that mean that as minorities, we don't have the power to discriminate? Let's see what the other side would say. A lot of people these days say that reverse racism doesn't exist. What do you think about that?
There's this belief that racism against the person who is most likely to conduct the racism doesn't make it racist, which is untrue.
If your definition of racism is purely systematic, no, I don't believe reverse racism can exist. If it's just a matter of
Listen to this. The black people, the marginalized people are the ones with thoughtful ideas and arguments here. They have they have thought this out. White people are like, no, can't do it.
Of discrimination, then yeah, absolutely.
I had a racist brother, and he was indigenous. Just because you're a minority doesn't mean you don't hate. A lot of cases of racism, you find that people that are racist are the victim of something.
Do you think, though, at times people use that excuse of like, you can't be racist towards white people, and they mask hate with good intentions?
I listen to my friends who are like people of color, and they tell me their experiences and how they feel, and I just try to understand the best that I can.
But today is a lot of...
Yeah, see? Okay. So she just listens to her friends. She doesn't think about it herself. She hasn't thought through her own positions. She just takes the positions of others, and that's why she doesn't have a nuanced and thoughtful position on this.
A lot of the racism that we see in the West in your face or behind closed doors. So in order to address such issues, policies like affirmative action and racial quotas were introduced in the 60s to increase representations for historically disadvantaged groups.
In our time, change has come to this nation too.
As we see today, controversy remains.
Affirmative action harms everybody, though in different ways.
As Thomas so well put it was a break from the traditional justice of equal opportunity in applying the same rules for all to a shift towards cosmic justice with a focus on equalizing prospects and creating equality of outcomes.
The requirement for treating everyone the same is very simple. It's mass produced. The requirements for
So I have issues with positions being what's it called? They just said it, and I
and racial quotas were introduced.
Racial quotas. I have issues with racial quotas because it doesn't address the underlying issues. It can actually harm it because people like this can get arguments like, oh, they didn't deserve their position, therefore they shouldn't be in that position. And in some cases, I can see that being the case. In some areas, I can see that being an issue, perhaps. But I do think if completely equal, which never happens, completely equal applicants apply, the minority should have the position, of course. But that never happens, so it's a moot point, pretty much. What is better done is addressing the underlying issues rather than because this is going to be applied to the high achievers, and rather than attempting to solve the issues at the top, you solve it at the bottom. So, for example, in Hollywood, a lot of internships have a racial quota. They will, if you are black or Hispanic or indigenous and you apply for an internship in Hollywood, odds are, if you are qualified for that position, you will get that position, even if there are more qualified white people. The issue is it's an unpaid job. You will work there for I don't know how much, for I don't know how long, in an unpaid position. How the fuck is a poor black, white, Hispanic, indigenous person gonna afford to take that type of job, to get their foot in the door in Hollywood, when there are white people from rich families, or black people even from rich families, who apply for the same position and can afford to work their asses off for zilch? You can't. And that is the underlying issue that you have to solve. And you solve this in a few ways. The first one, you ban unpaid positions. Gone. Doesn't happen. You can't have them if it's through an education program. So if you study and part of that program is you have an internship, perhaps, I can see an argument for that. But that should go towards your credits then. So no unpaid positions that doesn't earn you credits. The second way you solve this is you fund underfunded schools. Schools in America especially are idiotically funded through the housing tax. So if you live in a poor area, your school is going to be poor. Now, isn't that just the sickest system you've ever heard of? I can't understand how one would come to the conclusion that this is how we solve issues. No, all you're doing is create more poor people. So you give more money towards underfunded schools so they can afford better teachers, they can afford better programs, they can afford to give their kids the future they deserve. And these two things, I think, will help more black people, more minorities in general, and poor white people get better education first and foremost. Oh, and also ban private education altogether. Like, boom, gone. State funding of schools throughout for everyone. Period. You have publicly funded education, publicly funded college and university, and you ban the so you remove the loans. What's it called? The student loans. You completely remove the need for enormous student loans. They're going to take you in your entire life to pay off, if you ever afford to pay it off. These three things is going to help poor people, no matter their creed, no matter their color of the skin, no matter who they are, to get better positions in America. And if you still don't see any help, if you still don't see an increase in diverse thinking, in a diverse demographic applying for a job, yeah, you can start to look at the top and see what you can do there. Absolutely. But you have to start at the bottom and work your way up.
It's very simple.
It's the same with, before I leave, it's the same way that Elon Musk, like I said yesterday, Elon Musk talks about a Star Trek future. The future he wants to be a Star Trek future, which is a communist future, but he doesn't want to start it at home. He wants to start it in space. And all he's doing is moving towards the expanse rather than Star Trek, which is his claim. You have to start it at the bottom, and that means in terms of the space exploration, you have to start on Earth. You have to create the political landscape that will create a Star Trek enterprise system. The same... I've never watched Star Trek. The Federation, there we go. You have to start on Earth that will lead to the Federation, and then you can go into space. Then you can explore the universe, because then you'll be stewards of Earth first, rather than explorers, rather than exploiters of Earth.
It's mass-produced. The requirements for cosmic justice must be handmade and tailored to each individual case.
So it raises the question, can both equality and equity even coexist? But what are your thoughts on, let's say, racial quotas or diversity hiring in the context of jobs or university?
Programs like affirmative action, I think, are necessary, and I think they've shown to be effective at balancing income inequality between races.
I don't think they've... racial quotas create economic equity.
Or opportunity should be given to the person
Maybe I don't know. I've not seen that.
got the best skill.
I think a lot of the time the perception of diversity hire is that these people are unqualified, where in a lot of the times you're giving somebody the shot to show that they are qualified.
If they didn't have those quotas, then less black people would be in certain programs. If they were to get assessed, they say, okay, no, I have 5 Asians, I have 10 black people.
Isn't that discrimination, though?
Of course it's discrimination, but it has to be this way because that's the world we have created.
Yeah, I mean, she's not wrong. That's the world we created, so that's why. But we can change the world we've created. I mean, it didn't get here by us being lazy. We actually put effort into arriving at this point.
Point to things like the Harvard scandal, where really, really qualified Asian kids, so they're getting left out. You can have a shitty doctor because somebody got into med school, but their scores weren't that great. But I believe in quality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. I think that's Marxist, and you can only enforce that with a gun.
I've also heard
okay.
Instances that it actually hurts Asian people the most, who is definitely a minority with only 6% in America. In that sense, do you think that's creating more division?
I only know what I've read, and that's that they have been effective for helping historically underprivileged races.
Especially for my people, for 400 plus years, we've been discriminated against and not given opportunities.
I think that there's a bit of a slippery slope that happens when we bring people into certain opportunities or certain institutions simply because of their skin color. And you could even argue that itself inherently could be a bit racist.
It's reasonable to have equal amount of different races involved in the workplace. But is it achievable the way we're doing it right now? No, I don't think it is.
You know what? I agree with him there. It's a good goal, but I don't think the way we're attempting it is a good way. We've seen in Norway, they I don't know if they still do it. Okay. In Norway, they had, and in Sweden, but I saw this happening in Norway more, or I say reports of it from Norway, where the board of companies were forced to create a gender quota. So they had to have, I believe, like 20%. It was a growing quota. So the first year they had a certain percent, and next year a certain percent, and it's growing over time until you reach equity or something. And what this created was what was called a golden skirt. So there were a handful of women who sat on every board of the big companies, because they were qualified and they had to have women there. So, hey, we take that woman and that woman and that woman. And just a handful of women who just, all they're doing is just walking around to, I'm sure it's better now, but when it happened, in the beginning, this was the at least one of the outcomes of that policy. So I can see why you wouldn't want to do this in the way we're doing it now.
So if achieving both is impossible, is the pursuit of inclusion actually creating more division?
But are you just interviewing people? Aren't you done no research yourself?
Because if measures are becoming more extreme and opportunities are given solely based on race, isn't it just going to go back to the same equality we sought to address?
Diversity matters.
And does that include for Asian Americans?
I'm not putting my personal opinion.
As he was fired for being a white male to diversify leadership positions.
So besides our obvious history with race, it made me think, why is America so obsessed with race and racism? Do you think talking about racism helps the problem or makes the problem worse?
I think talking about it with different sets of ideals hopefully pushes the conversation forward a little bit. Getting your worldview shattered and smashed to shit is sometimes good.
White people should be talking more about race. In my social settings with white friends, it isn't brought up enough.
I think there's a certain level of awareness that needs to be raised. However, bringing it up in the context of us versus them, I think that itself contributes to racism.
If we keep that I agree with. Us versus them mentality when talking about this shit is never good.
Talking about it, eventually, it'll probably subside somewhat. I don't think it's going to go away, though.
I think you have to look at things holistically, and you can't be just one-sided, left or right. I feel like there's always a middle ground.
People recycle this.
Wait.
It'll probably subside somewhat. I don't think it's going to go away, though.
I think you have to look at things holistically, and you can't be just one-sided, left or right. I feel like there's always a middle ground.
Oh, liberalism. It destroys everything. In the end, it always destroys everything.
People recycle the same bullshit topics, but no one's talking about love.
Do you think minorities blame white
What?
people too much?
Yes, 100% they do, because it's an excuse.
Why the aren't we talking about how we can connect more and actually learn about each other? Why is it always the problem we talking about? Why not the solution?
Now this may sound wild, but has this obsession with race created an environment where woke people and racists this dude is dredging up 10-year-old drama? I remember when this clip happened. It was a big deal. White dread dude stairs. Can we get it? Dude versus black female. Here we go. Oh, David Pacman, 7 years ago. Interview with Dreadlock Man on viral video. Like this video, really. TYT. Here we go. I don't know. Just give me this.
You're saying that I can't have a hairstyle because of your culture? Why?
Because it's my culture. You know what box means.
Do you know it was in Egyptian culture? Are you Egyptian? Nah.
I loved it. Are you Egyptian?
I'm not.
Are you Egyptian?
No, but it doesn't matter.
Wait, where's Egypt? Tell me.
You know what, girl?
Where's Egypt?
Dude, girl, you have no right to tell
He should have said Vikings. He should have named Vikings.
What I can read. Huh?
Where's Egypt?
Yo, girl, stop touching me right now.
Like, look at her gleeful laughter here. Like I said, this is 7-year-old beef. Why is he dredging this up? A month ago, 7-year-old. This is the best he can do. But again, that remove the context. Look at the glee in her face. Like she loves this. She is sanctioned, socially sanctioned to do this.
Touching me right now.
Yo, girl, stop touching me right now. Come back.
Get off of me.
Come back. You put your hands on me, no more.
Like, you know, make some shit because of what the hair I have? That's no reason, yo. I don't need your disrespect. I don't need your disrespect.
Why are you filming this?
Why are you filming this? No, why is he filming this? Strange.
Are becoming the same thing. Because if it's true, perhaps one of the first signs was seen 6 years ago in this small college in Washington. The annual day of absence at Evergreen State College involved minority students leaving campus for the day to raise awareness of their contributions. But then in 2017, organizers decided to reverse the roles and ask white students and faculty to leave campus instead.
Get out! You're not helpful. Get out!
Brett Weinstein, a white professor, objected, citing these demands as forced segregation.
Oh, this is how Brett Weinstein got his start. I forgot about that. That was him?
And discriminatory. And soon after, Weinstein's objections were met with protests and accusations of racism as student activists called for his resignation for promoting white supremacy.
I am not interested in debate. I am interested only in dialectic, which does mean I listen to you and you listen to me.
Eventually, Weinstein and his wife resigned from their positions and filed a lawsuit which was eventually settled for $500K. And so even though the protesters may have genuinely felt that they were advocating for inclusion, the reality is that they were promoting exclusion based on race.
That's how whiteness works. Whiteness is the most violent system to ever breathe.
Frankly, every student in that hallway has a clue about where they're going wrong.
And so are we continuing to head down a path of revenge masked as equality? Because as it stands, is it fair to generalize an entire group based on the actions of a few in the past?
Sure, I actually think that's a really interesting question because there's a lot of research coming out about how trauma is intergenerational. So even though you may not have
but I mean, you don't. Yes, trauma is intergenerational. No, that does not give anyone license to behave the way they, whatever way they want to. It's gonna be so the intergenerational trauma for Black people is gonna be like having the talk with the kids about the police, having the talk with the kids about not just law enforcement but people in power in general. Your white principal, your white teacher, how you behave in front of them. You can't behave the way we do at home. Masking and stuff like that. Not masking. Code switching, stuff like that. That's going to be intergenerational trauma. It's not going to be you having, like, if your mother had an interaction with police that went down badly. That does not necessarily mean that you're going to have like heart palpitation because a police stopped you, you know? That's not going to be necessarily a one-to-one correlation there. While as it's much more likely if you yourself have one of those interactions, you're going to have some issues when the police stop you.
experienced something if your parents did, if they ever shared that story with you, you might have that ingrained memory somewhere.
Okay, well then how about this? Like,
it's not an ingrained memory. It's a story. It's an idea. It's knowledge. It's shared knowledge. That's it. It's not a memory.
Like, I'm Japanese American, right? Do you think then, like, Americans should judge the actions of my ancestors, let's say, on me?
I think it's important that, like, people have this type of dialogue, why they think a certain way, why they hold certain beliefs, and that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward as a society.
Sure.
Okay, but what if we take a completely different approach to it? Do you think it's okay to be racist if you're equally racist to everyone?
That's correct.
Equal opportunity racist?
Equal opportunity racist.
Radical racism.
Funny thing someone told me recently is they want to learn more about culture so they can be more accurate in their racism.
Shut up.
Why do you think I'm traveling right now?
That is straight dedication.
Kidding aside, is saying that we don't have the power to discriminate as minorities using victimhood to actually discriminate. But on the other hand, is this overcorrection necessary to correct the wrongs of the past? And it seems like that's exactly what Hollywood is doing. Whether it be Indian Velma or Black Annie, a recent trend has been replacing originally white characters with minorities in the name of diversity. The power of media cannot be ignored. Do you think that's a good way to increase representation amongst minorities, or do you think that's a bit lazy?
Anytime that we try to intentionally increase visible minority representation in the media is a good thing.
Maybe it's it's forceful diversity, people trying too hard to be inclusive and all that.
Honestly speaking, I can't.
Yeah, there's an issue with the type of inclusivity that Hollywood is doing, primarily, probably, because the way they, like I talked about earlier, the way they hire people, the way they hire interns. If you're poor, you can't afford to be an intern, you know? And minorities are more likely to be poor. So they're not going to look at, like, take the mermaid, the Little Mermaid. Like, first of all, way too dark. Way too dark. Give me... Here we go. This, first of all, it's a Danish story. Second of all, if you're going to change the race of the protagonist, how does that change the story? Like, that is an issue that I have seen. For example, you see this, they actually addressed this in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where they talk about how Chris Rogers wasn't the first Captain America. He was actually the second, but he was the first white Captain America. She has no soul as a mermaid. That's true, actually. That's true. Mermaids are demons. But no, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they visit, and I was surprised when they did this. They visited a dilapidated home, and within that home, there Bucky, Winter Soldier, introduced Falcon to the original Captain America. And they actually had an entire story about that and how he was treated by the American institutions and how he was treated by society and yada, 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 yada. So they've actually addressed it that way. And I think if you're going to have a race-swapped character, you have to not just race-swap them. You can't just color them over with a black marker or a brown marker. You have to think about how it affects the story. Not Mission Impossible. Men in Black was the second movie where Will Smith improvises a line saying... it actually came with a black driver first, but he kept getting pulled over. MIB Will Smith improvised line. Black driver. MIB self-driving car. Come on, give it to me. No? Okay. But yeah, that improvisation couldn't be done if you're not familiar enough with being black. So if you're in a room full of white writers and you go, we should diversify this. Let's hire or white producers. Actually, we should hire a black actor for this role. Okay? How does that inform the story? They don't think about that because they never have to think about that. There's no poor minority in the room with them when they do make these decisions. They're all rich white people. And that's why I'm fine with forced diversity in movies. But you have to think how that affects the actual story. Can't just race swap.
I can't say that I looked to Disney characters or other characters.
But on the other hand, I mean,
that
we
I
have
looked to Disney characters.
a lot of these videos came out when this happened, so I'm happy for them. I guess that's fine. That's perfect. That's a perfectly a reasonable reason to do this. But I still think they should. A better way to do it is to think how it will affect the story.
Characters or other characters to see what opportunities exist for me. However, being
No,
able
and here they actually did it in
or other
Miss Marvel. They actually did consider the story. I don't know if it's in the book, in the comics as well, but in this TV series at least, because she's Muslim, and that actually affects how they're telling the story. They go to a mosque. The mosque gets raided by the government. They are talking about it. They're actually having that conversation, etc., etc., etc. You know, it's not just, oh, she's Muslim, but we're not going to do anything about it.
Characters to see what opportunities exist for me. However, being able to see other women of color in positions of power, whether it be in the legal force, whether it be in politics, was something that did open my eyes to the opportunities that are possible.
Yes, I'm a black woman, but when they create these shows, it's like almost so far gone for me. I don't care what my skin color is. I know who I am.
I think it's pandering a lot of the time. When it's just
Yeah.
you swap out a character, you don't change the dialogue, and you say,
yes,
they're black now, and then you try to make yourself look good. That's lazy and pandering to me.
Exactly. It's lazy and it's pandering. That's yes. Thank you. I like this guy.
It's a good point, because does Hollywood genuinely care about amplifying minority voices, or is it about the woke points? Don't you think it would also just be more effective if we actually just told real stories of minorities, of like actual people, instead of just replacing it with a traditionally white character?
Matt Damon, who was in the Great Wall of China, and everyone was so offended. Why is it him?
Scarlett Johansson played like an Asian girl.
So it's like, is it because she's a better actress? There's no way there is a one Asian person that could have been casted that's as good as Scarlett.
To be fair about towards Scarlett Johansson in that case, Ghost in the Shell. Like, this is the original character. And we're talking about the future. Are we really talking about race here? Ghost in the Shell from a TV show, it seems. I don't know. I've never seen it. Like, I can see this character being white. I mean, again, we're talking about a cyberpunk future here. And in the future, we're all going to be the same fucking color, probably. Most likely. There's going to be like one enclave of people who are black, white, Asian, whatever. But they're going to be... I don't know if I would want to associate myself with them at all.
Because Scarlett is not that great.
And that's exactly why we need to explore the intention. Because besides the history of negative, racist, and emasculating portrayal of Asians in media, for years, films about Asians were being replaced.
Oh my god, and Goku. The
emasculating portrayal of Asians in media. For years, films about...
This, however... I'm not an anime fan, but I can understand why people were mad at that. Where's he from? Goku. Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball live action movie. Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, the name is Goku. You're casting the whitest of white people in that role? Are you sure about that?
Have appeared again. The evil has returned to defeat this threat.
But his grandpa is Asian?
I'm not ready for this. You are the only one who can do it. With this Dragon Ball, I take my vengeance upon the earth.
We have to find the Dragon Balls before the eclipse.
Let's go.
We'll go, but we go together. Cool.
They're not showing anything. What the hell? They know what the movie is in the trailer.
Asians were being replaced with white people. But in current times, it's shifted to ignorant portrayals of white people while still continuing to focus on our differences rather than our similarities.
It's white cis men who are
the least grounded, most destructive race.
And when media is constantly impacting how you view society, we're being taught that every societal ill is the fall of whites, and that as minorities, we can say whatever the hell we want about white people. So at this point, what the hell even is the solution to a more equal society? But what I realized is that this whole time, we weren't even looking at the right problem. What do you think is a bigger problem, racial or income differences?
I would say that income inequality would be worse, because I think that if we were to be able to fix that somehow, then it could fix a lot of the other issues.
Income inequality. I think that we all deserve.
We got super out of that movie. I don't. Which movie and what are you talking about? You're behind. Come on, give me some context.
Like a certain standard of living. Yes, racism sucks, but at the same time, it's not on the level of like people who can't eat.
I think the discrepancy of income can actually affect certain components of race and how certain things are viewed. And so I kind of see them as feeding into each other.
Racial, absolutely. Like racial inequality follows income inequality.
I think.
Yes, racial inequality. Wait. What?
Feeding into each other.
Racial, absolutely. Like racial inequality.
We got super out of that movie. I'm sorry, Blaze. I do not understand what you mean by we got super out of the Dragon Ball Evolution movie.
Follows income inequality.
I think it's still racial because at the end of the day, that plays into the income and everything else that goes on, like the opportunities that we have. I think it all plays into it. So
there's relative poverty and there's abject poverty. In the West, I don't think we have abject poverty, but people that are down and don't want to get up and work, go bust your ass, man. Very few people that are busting
I hate this guy.
I would say most of them are probably getting someplace. It may be slow, but you're going to get someplace.
How about like, let's say for an example, like LeBron James' son. Do you think he probably was born in a better position than let's say like a poor white kid in the trailer park?
I feel like that's different. You can't compare the two because at the end of the day, he is a black man. He still is viewed as a black man in society.
Having more money would help.
So that is true. Like we saw this with, was it Black Panther director? Black Panther director, cops called. Bank of America has apologized to director Ryan Coogler after he was assumed to be a bank robber and briefly handcuffed by the police while trying to withdraw money from a branch in Atlanta in January. Mr. Coogler, best known for directing Black Panther, had handed a teller a withdrawal slip on Jan. So yes, being black in general can put you in situations, no matter how rich you are. Something white people will not experience. Yes. However, the amount of opportunity that the Obamas or a famous the kids to anyone black and famous and rich and powerful is gonna have. It eclipses the amount of opportunity that anyone who has very little money is going to have. But yes, there are still things that they will experience that white people will never have to experience. For sure. A cop will not see your bank account when they pull you over.
If you get along better, you can have power and still be a victim of racism.
So no matter whichever issue is worse, why do we always hear about one but not the other? Why do you think like in the news, like we hear more instances of, I feel like a lot of the rhetoric in the media today is around racial wars.
It's a way of grasping at straws and dealing simply with very complex issues. But the big issue is poverty and overpopulation.
People who are in charge of portraying things in the media are often very wealthy themselves, right? They don't want to shine a light on income inequality.
Racism seems a lot more visual. It's visual.
Yeah. You get that outrage response with racism. It's easy to be like, that person.
And when the focus is on differences, that's all we start seeing. Since 1989, Scott Adams has been best known for his newspaper comic Dilbert, as well as his books and live streams on social and political issues. However, on February 22nd of this year, it all came crashing down.
This is the first political poll that ever changed my activity.
Okay, so to be fair, it had been coming down for a few years. Like since Trump, it had been tumbling down. It just went over a cliff here, okay?
On his live stream, Adams responded to a poll that asked black respondents if it was okay to be white, and the results show that 53% said yes, while 26% disagreed, and 21% were not.
Like, it's okay to be white is a... in general, I think if you just talk to everyone, not everyone, of course, but these 26% and 21% who are either opposing or are unsure about that, I think most of them would say it's okay to be white. However, that slogan has been used a lot by white supremacists. It has been plastered over. It's okay. Haven't they plastered that on schools and stuff to be white? Yeah, like this. Is a slogan which originated in parts as part of an organized alt-right trolling campaign on the website 4chan discussion board poll in 2017. A poll user described it as proof of concept that an otherwise innocuous message could be used maliciously to spark media backlash. And they got it.
Sure.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, that's a hate group, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. Based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people.
Newspapers across the country are dropping the Dilbert comics.
There's a line that gets crossed.
What do you say to people who heard that and say Scott Adams is racist? Are you?
This prompted several newspapers to drop his
strip
and his publisher to cancel his upcoming book. In a separate stream, Adams defended his remarks as hyperbole, and that the cancellation was based on out-of-context statements.
If you listen to it in context, it makes perfect sense. Did I espouse racism, or did I say you should try to get away from it?
He explains further that corporate influences are creating a collective narrative that people are racist, and there's some amount of the black population that's poisoned.
They're just poisoned by the narrative. They are victims.
He further clarified his points that white Americans are demonized by the collective forces.
So wherever there are groups of people who have been programmed by the media to have a reflexive bad feeling about you, I would avoid them.
And so with further context, does he have a point?
Every time we treat race as the way to understand anything, it doesn't work. But class does. If you look at class, it explains everything.
Are we being taught?
No. Again, I don't know where this Gen guy is going with this, but no, the race explains some things because of racism. Redlining. That's not just like it's not a current policy, but there are people who are still alive. It's not just in living memory. There are people who are still alive who was forced into redlined districts in America because of their race. That's not just a class issue, though because of that, they have become part of the lower classes.
To the cycle of negative media to hate one another, and that it was always about the money.
Especially in America, I think that the foundation is built upon differences, and that's not right. I think it's on purpose. It's perpetuated through the media, through separation, through stereotype. And yeah, purposefully, we're all too mean to each other and focused on how we're not similar when we are.
And so if we want more unity, we must prioritize accountability. Because ironically, it's those who claim to be the most open-minded that's actually the most closed-minded. And it's exactly why the line between woke people and racists are becoming the same thing. Do you think that's the best way to achieve equality is through hate?
No, absolutely not. But I think you can't have those two words in the same sentence, equality and hate,
Because if equality is achievable, it's never through hate. But instead, it's about looking inwards and having conversations to find common ground. Because if we truly care about an issue, we must acknowledge the good and also address the bad and sometimes the ugly. And that's exactly the mission to explore the unfamiliar. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more content where I turn street interviews into investigation.
So he comes to the conclusion that something has to be done. His conclusion is nothing. I don't know. I don't like that guy. He is he's just kind of towing the line. He's not saying anything. He just provides you with examples and lets you draw your own conclusions. He doesn't like he addresses he points out issues, but never solutions, and that is dangerous. That is how you get drawn into the right-wing hate movement. That is how I was almost drawn into the right-wing hate movement, because they were addressing issues that I saw in the world myself back in 14 and 15. But they never gave any solutions. But I didn't recognize that at the time. Now I do. Now I realize what's wrong and what's been going on. But yeah, there was one guy in there, or a few. The girl with the boyfriend who never spoke for some reason, and the guy in the red shirt. I like those guys. Those two were giving the best answers, in my opinion.
Random guy.
I'm gonna do one short Dave Rubin video before I end this stream. It's been a fun stream, and I want to keep it that way. I'm actually happy with today's stream. Really happy with today's stream. And I want to keep it that way. So we're going to see if Dave Rubin have anything to provide us. Or if he's just a boring moron once more. But it's a short video. It's a 3-minute video. So how boring can one be in 3 minutes? Let's see.
Random guy, Matt Wallace, I don't know who he is. He tweeted this out. He said, should permanent gender surgeries for little kids be banned immediately? And he did it in all caps, so you know people really mean it.
There's no permanent gender surgeries for little kids. There are circumcisions, but there are no permanent gender surgeries for little kids. So what's there to ban?
When they say it in all caps. And this Elon Musk guy, who you might have heard of, he wrote, absolutely. Sarah, this one's been sort of close to your heart because you've been going to these events, which people can't believe they'd be happening in Texas, but they're happening in Texas, talking about the drag queen stuff, which obviously is connected then to the larger trans movement. Florida's outlawing it. I think some other states are going to outlaw it very soon. Montana's outlawing it. They're not going to transition kids.
It's just...
And by transitioning kids, he means puberty blockers. That's it.
It's so frustrating because it's something that everyone knew to be true up until 10 minutes ago. We all know we shouldn't be permanently altering children's genitals. Like,
nobody's doing that. Except for the Christians, or not just Christians, but primarily Christians in America, and Jews and Muslims who circumcise their kids. Those are the ones who are permanently altering their kids' genitals. Do you want to ban that?
Hard, and it shouldn't be controversial. Unfortunately, the squeaky wheel gets the grease in this country, and you have this minuscule number of activists, very radical activists, who come out and act as if we should be doing it. And the general population is scared to say, no, actually, that's abuse, and we won't stand for it. The thing is, though, as we see with Ron DeSantis, as we see with these other states that are passing these bills, this is a winning issue. It's not hard. Stop mutilating children. Stop sexualizing children. Stop bringing them to drag queen brunches so adult grown men can twerk on them. It's not hard, but we need everyone to vocalize what we all know to be true. That is abusive and should not be allowed.
So this
Libby, on the Elon.
So this is just a lie train. That's all they're going to do. I'm not surprised. And don't get me wrong, but I mean, okay.
One part of this, how important do you think it is not only that he got Twitter, but that he has suddenly become this cultural voice that we desperately needed, in terms of Twitter files, but also like basic sanity, and also calling NPR state-sponsored media and, CBC up, and kind of like just like the broad spectrum of things that he's doing, that putting aside Republican, Democrat, the average person is just like, yeah, that is refreshing and true. And it's nice that someone's saying it.
The average American. Yeah, social lust, but I'm just ending it. I'm sorry. You guys thought I lied yesterday when I said I'm going to stream tomorrow. I didn't. But yeah, no, this is just a boring standard trans hate video. So there's nothing there. Having a state replace a vowel is lame. I have no idea what you mean by that. Again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Blaze. Sometimes I think your Polishness comes through. But yeah, no, I'm gonna end stream here. There's there is very little more for me to say at the moment. I feel like I've our placard. Oh, you mean that? Having a state replace the vowel is lame. Okay. Yeah, you mean this. The Texas being the O. Yeah, I mean, that's just standard white woman art, isn't it? So I can't fault her too much for being for representing her culture. Okay, don't shame her for her culture. She's a standard white woman. That's perfectly valid. Okay. But yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go now. Not I don't have to, but I mean I feel we've exhausted this. Maybe I'll stream tomorrow. Maybe. But most likely I'm going to take the day to edit instead. So if I don't stream tomorrow, I'm going to try stream Monday, daytime. Sassy Shooter. Matt Walsh, yeah. Should we just listen to... We should listen to that song, should we? Sassy Shooter.
Joe Rogan's a pedophile.
No, I want the song. Sassy Shooter song. Is it this? I think it's this.
Devin, do you have a cigarette?
Nope. There was a song from that had it. I watched Lance from The Surfs. Let's see here if they have a link to it. Nothing there.
My blog, get your dick sucked. He want a quick
Okay. So I've already listened to this, but it's an amazing song. Is it Gabe X Shy? Because I saw this here. Oh, it is this. Can I... and they have the context here. Sassy Shooters, not Shooter. Yeah, here we go.
Spin on my blog, get your dick sucked. He want a quick fuck, I'm tryna riz up. When I see you, better keep that dick tucked. Put it in his butt, I don't give a fuck, I'm a slut. I ain't a gangster, I'm a sassy shooter. Why the fuck you hating from behind the computer? My dick getting hard, growing large like a tumor. Old ass man in my DMs, he a groomer.
If it don't fart when you riding, put the dick inside him, I'm forever wildin'. Yeah, I was in the cell getting fucked, so I'm crying. Hit it from the back, I'm a top, I'm supplying. 1 dick, 2 dick, 3 dick, 4. Yeah, you moan, yeah, I bust, yeah, I nut, yeah, I blow. Love the way that I'm fucking on my dad and his bro. In the show, I'ma grow a dick long like Pinocchio.
Oh. Oh my god, if they don't blow up from this. Why are you autoplaying? I did not ask you to autoplay. It is an amazing song. Gabe X Shy. Can we get some more from them? Is that kind of like it? It is the most gay song I've ever heard. It is the most gay song I've ever heard. Nightcore. Is it just the same song? Okay, it's sped up. But that's it. That's it. That's I'm gonna. Should we just have that as the outro? There's gonna come out. So there's gonna be more. But I guess the Daily Wire has. They've probably upped their security for a while. If he didn't fart when he put it in, did he actually fuck you? That is a good question. Okay. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. If I'm not online tomorrow, I'm gonna try to be online on Monday instead. Take care, and I love you all. Bye.